So that's right, Diablo 4 is evolving. We got some brand new patch updates for Diablo 4 with some new changes, plus the world boss schedule for the open beta weekend has been fully revealed, and this time it is different. And yet again, we get another update from Blizzard about the dungeon controversy, and they are promising to apparently improve the dungeons post-launch. And this one thing absolutely has to be in the game. We'll talk about it, and a huge exploit could potentially hurt the PvP experience, but will Blizzard take notice and address this one issue? And reports of PCs being bricked by the Diablo 4 beta has some players worried, but there's some preventative measures you can take right now to ensure everything will be a-okay. Also, take a look at this right here. You guys have got to check this out right here. I've been using what I would consider to be the ultimate browser for gamers called Opera GX. It's sleek, highly customizable with themes and colors to match your personality. Opera GX can also further optimize your PC's performance with GX Control and Network Limiter, so your games run great online and off, no more lag, and you can even integrate Twitch, Facebook Messenger, Discord, and more to keep track of everything in one place. It's also available on PC and mobile for free, so download it right now in that description below. Now, one of the coolest things about Opera GX is that you can create your own browser profile, use streamer mode to keep all of your personal information safe, go rogue, have your browser automatically delete your browsing data every time you exit the browser, and you can even have a work profile to mute all notifications so you can stay focused. Activate potato mode to go bare bones to ensure you really optimize performance. And guess what? You can access your Opera GX profile straight from the taskbar as well. So join me right now and experience Opera GX to enhance your browsing and gaming experience. Click the link in the description below to download for free. And you can even use GX Player to connect to your Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music accounts directly from the sidebar, and GX Player automatically pauses and then automatically resumes any music once a tab is finished, so you can enjoy your music seamlessly. So join me right now and download Opera GX for free on PC and mobile by following the link in that description below. Check it out. So check this out right here. This is posted by the Diablo 4 community manager about the open beta and patch notes. Of course, he is thanking us for our feedback first and foremost, but it goes on to say this right here. It says the Diablo 4 open beta begins March 24th at 9 a.m. PDT and will conclude on March 27th at 12 p.m. PDT. There will be a small client patch prior to the open beta to address some bugs and issues that players may have experienced last weekend. You can read more about the items below, and I believe you might be able to pre-download the patch right now, by the way, so go ahead and check that out right now. I'd highly recommend it so you're not stuck downloading. I don't know if it's going to be a couple of gigabytes or what have you, but be sure to check out whatever platform you're on to see if there's an update. Furthermore, here's some of the patch notes and changes, so check it out. Fix an issue with Ashiva's spawn timer. She will now spawn on Saturday, March 25th at 10 a.m., 12 p.m., 10 p.m. PDT, and then Sunday, March 26th at 12 a.m. PDT. So yes, mark that down as to when you can get those legendary drops to really mess around with your Necro and Druid, which I'm sure those are going to be the top priority for a lot of you that played the early access beta. Now, furthermore, it says right here, they also fixed an issue with the queue timer, would not display a time despite the player still being in queue, addressed issues that should result in improved queue times, fix an issue where players would sometimes become blocked during the In Her Way quest, and then they addressed some issues to select high texture settings with 16 gigabytes of RAM. They also fixed an issue with UI would incorrectly show completed challenges as not started, and multiple miscellaneous crash-related issues as well. So some important noteworthy fixes there, especially on, I guess you would say, the PC side of things. And then they also addressed one console issue they mentioned, which was cooperative play has been adjusted as well. It should be running smoother on that front as well. Now, we have another headline here. Check it out. It says Diablo 4's launch won't be plagued by the beta's connectivity issues, says Blizzard. They're helping us make the actual launch of the game that much better. Yes, we are all unpaid QA testers. No, I'm just kidding. But that's how it feels when you go from game to game, especially with these online components, and they're asking you to be patient, to test it out, give feedback, what have you. Well, pay me then. But anyway, let's get into this right now. It goes on to say this: the word beta nowadays has kind of been misconstrued. where people start calling things beta that's actually a marketing beta and it's just another term for a demo. That's not our case at all. Our beta is actually us testing our technology, especially on the server side. We had a little bit of a rocky start on Friday, and again, things did smooth out. I did notice throughout the first beta period, but at the end of the beta, I actually noticed that it was running a little bit rougher, so that made me scratch my head a little bit. I think everyone was really trying to get that last amount of beta time in. Now, we're going to talk about what Blizzard had to say here. Now, Ferguson added that the development team pushed out 6 hot fixes and solved dozens of issues over the course of the weekend. Those fixes will hopefully smooth the way for the second open beta taking place this coming weekend and ultimately pave the way for Diablo 4's launch on June 6th. So, I'm going to hold it to them. I want to see what happens when the beta does open on Friday at 9 a.m. PDT. We'll see if everything crashes again. So yeah, they claim it's going to be running smoother. We'll find out. Furthermore, it says he continued, sometimes as a player, it can be a little frustrating, but they have to recognize that they're helping us make the actual launch of the game that much better. So thank you to you all. All right, so yeah, Blizzard also gave additional feedback about the dungeons based on your feedback about the dungeons. So this is what they had to say. It says the dungeon feedback is something that's really interesting to us. The beta is isolated to a single area of the world. There are 5 zones in the world, and you're only playing through fractured peaks. We put well over 100 dungeons in the game. Many of those are not in fractured peaks. We expect that as you're leveling up your character, you're going to be adventuring through many different dungeons rather than doing the same dungeon over and over. Yes, and I think that is going to be cool to see the different thematic approaches to the dungeons when it comes to the tone and texture and that sort of thing based on what region we're in. But I want to see how redundant the actual layouts are in that region. Furthermore, we have this right here. The game rewards you for that. We have mechanics like the Codex of Power. We have different types of mechanics for different dungeons. Some dungeons are about killing all the monsters. Some have different kinds of objectives. Some of them have bosses at the end, while others have events at the end. It really is about, during the level up period, experience all the different dungeons that exist in the world. And of course, in the beta, you're only getting a fraction of that. So I'm kind of curious if we're missing out on perhaps events that we have yet to be exposed to when it comes to these dungeons. That's what I'm wondering, and I'm hoping that adds some sort of variety to the experience. Only time will tell. Also, it says having that sense of place grounds the world more. Continued Rod, who added that Blizzard will continue to iterate on dungeons and other features after Diablo 4 launches in full. Whoa. Really? So that is very vague. I want to know what that means in particular. What does iterate on these dungeons exactly mean? Because that could mean that they're going to mess around with the actual AI in the dungeons, but I think a lot of us are wondering, does this mean that they could also potentially mess around with the layouts of the dungeon in the future? The way the dungeons are actually made and structured, I would imagine that they could actually tinker around with that. It just seems like there is potential for that. So yeah, I'm curious. Now, this is interesting feedback, and this is one thing I absolutely noticed has to be added into Diablo 4 no matter what. Check it out. As you can see here, we have this as being able to inspect ground loot is a much needed quality of life improvement. And he shows a video showcasing, of course, previous Diablo games where you can actually highlight over the loot and get an idea of what you're actually picking up before picking it up. I don't know why this is not in the game right now, or if there's some sort of secret button you can press to actually have that display. But yeah, this has to be an option in the future for sure. All right, so now on to some concerns about the PC version of the game and how potentially Diablo 4, this beta, could actually brick your graphics card. So check it out. It says Diablo 4 bricking GPU fix, how to prevent and avoid it on PC. Let's get into this and find out what in the world exactly is going on. It goes on to say what graphics cards are bricked by Diablo 4. Immediately after the Diablo 4 beta kicked off, on March 17th, a Reddit user posted about how their NVIDIA GeForce RTX 380 Ti graphics card was bricked after just 20 minutes of gameplay. This was followed by numerous posts on Reddit and the Diablo 4 forums reporting the same error. Now, that's actually the exact graphics card that I use. So now I'm like, kind of paranoid. I'm definitely going to follow these steps. Now, it goes on to say this. Only users with the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 30 series graphics cards encounter this problem, while some users have reported no issues with these cards. If you own a GeForce RTX 30 series card, you'll want to reduce the risk of catastrophic failure. Here's how. So they have some steps here. It's pretty simple. You can pause the screen if you want to, of course. It says there isn't an official fix yet, but users noted that uncapped frame rates seem to be the source of the problem, but you'll need to cap the frame rate on your graphics card, not in-game. Here's how to cap, the frame rate on an NVIDIA graphics card. It says right-click on your desktop and open NVIDIA control panel, manage 3D settings, then you scroll down to max frame rate, select on and choose your frame rate cap, and then click apply, and be sure to restart your computer. And this should hopefully alleviate some of the stress and perhaps paranoia about potentially bricking your graphics card while experiencing the beta, which, you know, that's extremely rare, I would imagine. I haven't heard like tons and tons of reports of this actually happening. And we got to talk about this one right here. It says the best part of the Diablo 4 beta was a real surprise. And what could that be, you ask? Well, if we dive into it, it goes on to say this. While monster slaying feels good as ever and environment design in Diablo 2 level top notch, there was one aspect of the Diablo 4 beta that felt far better than I was expecting and better than anything out of the past 3 games as well. The story. And I totally agree about this one. I'm not going to spoil anything, by the way, whatsoever. I don't know how many of you actually made it to max rank and the end of the story arc in the beta at the very least. But what was there was so addicting and so well done between the actual voice acting and what was actually being said here. And in fact, there were some side quests which really blew me away and had some surprising end results to them as well. Some things that actually made me laugh. So this whole beta experience for me personally, in terms of the open world and the story, has been pretty stellar, to say the least. Now, let's get into this one right here. It says Diablo 4 players find surprising advantage when playing in widescreen. And this is what I was talking about earlier in the video when it comes to potential exploits, especially in PvP and even like in co-op, it could be a concern. So, it says Niklo's video demonstrates that a player using a widescreen monitor can teleport significantly longer distances than someone relying on the 16:9 aspect ratio. What this confirms is basically this: anywhere you can look, you can teleport to. So the wider your screen is, the further you can teleport, the YouTuber said in the end of the video. So, yeah, you'd have the sorcerer bouncing around everywhere on the screen. You probably wouldn't even be able to keep up. So I imagine that this is something that Blizzard would be looking at, I would hope, and they would have to make sure that this does not end up in the final version of the game, of course. And you guessed it, it's time for your top comments. Remember, leave a comment down below. It could end up in a future video. You never know. So my most recent video was this one right here. It's official. The dev team confirmed big features, dungeon woes, and class changes. Check out that video, by the way, because it looks like we would be getting more butcher-style enemies, like random encounters, and they will be adding to this post-launch, so that's pretty cool. Now, Oez says this right here. Small note on the dungeon exit thing. You can also just open the emote wheel and immediately see leave dungeon on the left. You don't even need to bother going through the menus or anything. Nice! So that's a great tip right there. Now, Wisdom Andy says the following. I really hope they add random elements of difficulty that create meaningful risk versus reward situations for players. The open world events are cool for sure, but as one example, make it so that sometimes these events are extra hard, extra rewards by showing an icon on the map. If the player is hardcore and not comfortable or just not interested, they can move on to whatever it is they were otherwise doing anyway. The random extra variety is really nice. I actually really like this idea, and it would make, you know, seeking out some of those extra hard challenges a lot of fun. So yeah, I see that being a pretty cool addition for sure. Now, John Lewis says this: the Barb already felt stronger at 18 through 20. I maxed out the Barbarian. I really enjoyed playing him. The Sorcerer felt like I could play on hardcore blindfolded. That's just a balancing issue. So, you know, since a lot of you guys agree with that one, I'm thinking they're going to nerf the Sorcerer in some way, shape, or form. So, Yeah, I'm waiting for those patch notes eventually to happen, or them to really talk about it in their post-beta report, which they did say they're going to be doing, I believe, some sort of video, maybe a live stream. Bulk Nasty goes on to say this right here. Also, I was crushing it with Arc Lash at level 25, but yeah, underwhelming at level 1 through 15-ish. But hey, that's the RPG mechanics. Each tune will come around as you level. So yeah, so this is what I noticed from playing the Diablo 4 beta, is that specializing is everything. So you have to pick what build you really want to do. Being a jack of all trades does not really do you any favors, especially early on in this game. So when I started really focusing up on a bleed build for my Barbarian, it was everything. I put 5 out of 5 into Rend, and it made all the difference, trust me. So yeah, that sort of thing I think is very important. I think if you are spreading out your points too much, that can be kind of costly, especially when you're trying to level up in the beginning. But yeah, anyway, thank you all so much for the comments. I'm going to keep you guys in the know about what happens next with Diablo 4 as Blizzard continues to update us. And yes, as we get into the open beta weekend. And then beyond that, we should be getting that post report. And of course, June is going to be exciting because that's going to be the launch of the game. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more. And I will see you all next time. Take care.